please try and find a seat. I think they added some in the back. Welcome to the World of War Forum. This is a special edition we're calling the GI Experience. And I want to welcome everybody and thank you for being on this historic date. After all, it's the 50th anniversary of 10-cent beer night.
50th anniversary of 10-cent beer.
And over 100,000 Clevelanders claim they were there that night. Anyways, thanks for coming out. As I said, this is a really special event for us, the GI Experience. We're going to hear from a real honest-to-goodness World War II veteran who served in Italy in the 10th Mountain Division in 1944-45. We're going to take a little different approach to this because with us tonight, first of all, Mr. Dominic Visconsi, who is the veteran. Welcome him. His son, Dominic Jr., and his daughter-in-law, Julie Visconsi. And Julie's the reason we're here because she used to be my next-door neighbor. And we were talking in January, Andrew and Chad and I, about, it'd really be nice if we could find a World War II veteran to talk about their experiences. And the day after that, I got their Christmas card. And it reminded me, wait a minute, we know somebody like that. So the approach we're going to take is they're going to take turns asking Mr. Visconsi questions, and we'll let him share with us some of his memories and exploits. And then when you're ready, the audience can ask a few questions as well, and we'll go from there. Okay? Thank you all again for coming out. Oh, you all have, I can borrow this. Chad will kill me if I don't do this, okay? You have feedback forms that were sitting on your chairs, and if you'd be kind enough to fill them out and turn them in, the library really takes this stuff seriously, and we do respond to people's requests and suggestions and what have you like. For instance, we're doing a series on World War I as a result of people saying, we'd like to know more about that. So please go ahead. And if you're new, World of War Forum looks at usually the first 50 years of the 20th century, and every now and then we get out there and look at things like the Kennedy assassination, and we're going to look at the Cuban Missile Crisis in October. So again, I'm going to turn it over to the Visconsis.
Steve, thank you. I want to make sure everyone can hear me.
Yes.
It's really heartwarming to see all of you here. I'm a little choked up, actually. I've grown up hearing these stories my whole life. And for Dad to be able to share it with a group, didn't know if this was going to happen to me. I apologize. It's really special. And there's some memorabilia that Jeff Matlin brought. It's over on the side. Jeff is the son of Bob Matlin, who was also in the 10th Mountain Division with our father. Bob Matlin passed away recently. So we miss Bob, and we're very thankful that Jeff could bring some memorabilia. There are also some articles in the back of the room on the way out about an exhibition in Denver for the 10th Mountain Division, so please take one on the way out. And I think a great story to start out with Dad, would be for you to talk about how you ended up in the 10th Mountain Division. You were just starting college, and I'll let you take over from here.
Is this on? Can you hear me? That's too bad. I had given a list, a few questions that I might answer these also, and then we'll get into the others. But I was wondering, anyone here know you're going to be here last week? No. Neither did I. Where are you born? Where did I grow up? I was born on East 125th and Woodland Avenue. About 99 and 3 months ago, 99 years and 3 months ago. And I remember it was around probably 11:30 in the morning, and I could hear them discussing where they were going to have lunch. Everybody there when I was born. That's it. Did I enlist or I drafted? I did not enlist. The young man here, Matlin, and I met his dad when I graduated from Kentucky Military Institute, and we were training for infantry tactics. I was going to enlist in Fort Benning, Georgia, where they called them the 90-day wonders. He became a second lieutenant in the infantry within 3 months. But I met Bob Matlin, I met his sister, and through his sister I met him and then two other friends, twin brothers, named Marshall and Alan Beadall. And I said what I was going to do, and they were indecisive, and then Bob came up with a picture of a soldier in a white uniform and white skis and the poles, and he said, this is what we should do. It's a volunteer-only division, one division like it, and we'll be together. Okay. So we got the applications, we put them in, and within 10 days, we had the acceptance. We were to report to Fort Hays, Columbus, Ohio, be brought into the military. And my mother was so happy to hear I volunteered. All of us, it was just crazy. So in Fort Hays, we went on train to Camp Hale. Camp Hale.
Colorado,
I
right?
think we went to Leadville first. To Camp Hale, Colorado, about 17 miles out of Leadville, Colorado, and that was where they had 15,000 strong, all volunteers, and only one division like it. So fortunately, the twin brothers and Bob and I wound up in the same company, in the same barracks. And we were concerned, this is in July of 43. And we said, what's gonna happen? On our applications, we put down skiing experience. Cane Hill.
Yeah, Kane Park, right?
Yeah, Cane Park, right, and
Rockefeller.
mountain climbing, Cane Park, which is a big hill on the east side.
Not a very big.
Yeah.
What the heck is gonna come on here? Well, now comes
Sledding hill.
September, our altitude is 10,000 feet at Camp Hale. And it was snowing in September, and the guy comes in one day and says, hey, you guys, tomorrow morning, coming out, the ski instructor is going to be dictating the room terms and the rules. We're thinking, what the hell are we going to do? We don't know what the hell to do.
Never skied, right?
None of them had ever skied, of the four
We had never
buddies.
skied, but we put applications, skiing experience, so on. So we get out there, and this big burly guy, I can remember we both talked about it after that, said, okay, all you such and such crows, forget about the way you used to ski, you're gonna learn it the Army way.
You're like,
Hooray, hooray. So they had a Cooper Hill there, which had a rope tow. I don't know if anyone skis and ever used a rope tow. It's when you got your skis on. They taught us how to put the skis on. And then the rope tow, it had a motorized thing, it'd go up the slope, and you hung onto the rope, and you'd go on up, except the guy in front of you would fall, everybody behind you would fall. So there was at least 2.5, almost 3 months of that. We all learned how to ski to finally. Fortunately, we never saw a ski when we went overseas. And we were there, we trained there, we were in the mountains in freezing weather. But we all had sleeping bags. And we'd be out in the snow, we'd be sleeping, and they had weasels that were a little motorized unit with tractor-type cranes on it, would be pulling supplies. And sometimes they'd run right over you, because the snow wouldn't zap you, but it was soft enough. The worst that could happen, you got some bruises.
Oh my
So
God.
that was terrific.
Yeah.
But we get 25 below, that was no big problem. It was out in the field 1 week and in camp 2 weeks. We were out a lot. We also had mules, and every 5 guys had a mule. And they were really fun to take care of. Get them halfway gone and they'd take off. And that's when we really went to fire, shoot the mules. Skipping that, we went down in June of 44. June 44, we went to Camp Swift in Austin, Texas, to learn flatland military tactics and infantry tactics. And that was terrific, and we went into Austin, Texas on our off time. But getting back to Denver, the 2 twin brothers and I bought a 36 Plymouth sedan, and we used to drive into Denver about every other weekend. And we stayed at the Brown Palace Hotel for $5 a night, 3 guys in a room.
3 days.
It was a real bargain. And driving back, sometimes they camp on the snow on a Sunday night was a thrill also. Skipping back to Texas and being outside of Austin was a treat. Us going to town and learning flatland infantry tactics. We were there until it was, I might add, in Camp Swift there were about 5,000 German prisoners in their shorts, and every morning marching, singing a German song, and taking care of all the maintenance in the camp. And they saw us leaving, going to Germany, to Italy. And they must have been laughing like, how these guys are going, look at the life we have. So we got to, we took a train and went to Newport News, Virginia. And they had we were there 3 nights before the troop ships left. The troops left on January 2nd. New Year's Eve, we had a party, and Red Skelton did a great performance for us. Anyone remember him? Red Skelton, he was a comedian.
Yeah, a lot of nods, yes.
Wow. So the next day we got on a luxury liner, a beautiful luxury liner that had been converted to a troop ship. And they had 4 bucks in a row, and that was the troop ship. Since it had been a luxury liner, it was much faster than the cargo ships that were over on those, carrying all of the munitions and so on. And we went alone. But they changed course about every 30 minutes, because the submarines take about 45 minutes to really zero in on their target. So this ship would change course about every 30 minutes. So we were told. Well, when we left West Virginia, I could still see the coast, and I was sick. It was rough. And when I wound up in sick bay, for the rest of the trip was fine except the last day. And it was a wonderful day, and I came up and I stood on the bow of the ship with my friends, with Bob and the twin brothers. And we were coming to the Straits of Gibraltar. They were stopped there for about a day. because there had been a ship had been sunk there, and then went through the Straits of Gibraltar, went to Naples. And we were in Naples, and we were on the ship, and we were to be going to a staging area outside of Florence for a 2 weeks training, combat training. And we went up from Naples, we went up on the coast on about 50 landing crafts. And we went and got to, it was Pisa. Got to Pisa probably about, well, at night, maybe 1 or 2 in the morning. And then that's when we saw what was coming. We saw burned out tanks and shattered buildings, and also the Leaning Tower of Pisa. That was our first wonderful view.
Mhm.
So then he took us to a staging area, and we were to get 2 weeks of combat training. And the 92nd Division been overrun by the Germans. And we got us into action sooner than that. And our first one was a minor event, so to speak, but it wasn't too minor because few of our people were killed and at least 15 to 10 to 20 wounded in our first encounter. And I, by the way, I was a medic, and so was Bob, my brother, and the twin brother. I failed to mention I had applied for, at Western Reserve, a medical, and that was on my record. When we got over, he said, "You're gonna be a medic." So we all had, the medics had a helmet, a big white paint on each side with a red cross. So they were not supposed to shoot the medics, nor were we supposed to shoot their medics. And it worked most of the time. But we got into action, there was some fellows killed, and that's when I first saw some horrible things and horrible injuries. And I had pockets full of morphine. We had little tubes of morphine, and a wounded man with pain, you'd give him a shot of morphine and ease the pain, and the others come behind us with picking them up. And sometimes you knew they were not going to make it, and horrendous wounds. And 4 or 5 of those, knowing they were going to die anyhow, take the pain away. That was quite a realistic situation to be involved at 18 years old.
Mhm.
Sometimes you could almost cry with these guys, and 50% of them was be calling for the mother, which was really sad too. So we had those events, and then our main event was, first one was
Was it Mount Belvedere?
Belvedere was second, was give me a couple of hours, I'll come up with it.
Riva Ridge was after.
Riva Ridge,
That
right.
was first, okay.
And those were going up, Riva Ridge in our area to go up. Riva Ridge was on the right with the mountain. They were like the Apennines, they weren't like the Alps. And Riva Ridge was the first one, and it had to be, it was done at night. It was attacked at night, and we had a line, said the line would go and went at night. And our company went up the front, and the other 2 went up on steep hills where they used ropes to get up, but they didn't have to use pitons, and that wasn't the cliff. And we took it over, and we were practically repulsed within 3 or 4 days when the Germans fought back on it, but we maintained it. And the next one was Mount Belvedere, which was on the other side of the main artery going north. And that was a nighttime deal, and I remember them telling us, first of all, we had to hide in barns and houses and all the little towns that we had destroyed and torn down houses. It was interesting to a degree. And that was a nighttime deal, and we went up, and that was a situation. I said I was not carrying ammunition or rifles or grenades, but that was a grenades only deal. They didn't want, when you got up to the top, you know, you're firing rifles, your flashes are showing where you are, whereas with grenades. And we took that one, and we maintained that one right after. That was it. We maintained that position, and the Fifth Army was running the whole show in Italy at that time with General Mark Clark. We were then successful. We then proceeded and went on up, had some major interventions and some minors, but I happened to see and got exposed to many horrible wounds and several deaths, and lots of civilians were killed too. A lot of little towns were blown up, destroyed. And the question was, how about the Italians? How were they? Well, they were all friendly, but half of them were friendly to the Germans. Where our artillery was, and the other half were friendly to us. They let us know where the Germans' artillery were. So it was like artillery position would change every other day. And it was interesting. And one day, Bob Matlin, my young man's dad, and I were sitting behind a destroyed house in a little town. We were writing letters home. And a shell, probably maybe 15 feet over our heads, came by and exploded about 20 feet away and did not explode. Hit the ground 20 feet away and the dirt flew up. No explosion. That would have been an end for us. And there were a few other incidents here and there that happened. There were close calls, and one time I went up to see his dad. He was in a foxhole a little higher, and they said, "Don't go up there because the snipers are there." I said, "Well, it's not that far," and I was on the way up. Bullet hit the tree over my head. I went back. I didn't go to visit. Something of that, I'm cutting all these things, stories short, but it was, I will say, it was extremely exciting. Hello? Was I not coming through?
It's a little bit better if I hold it up, if that's okay. It is.
Okay, I can hold it.
We can sing a song, you can sing now. Yeah.
Is this better?
Sing a song.
I'm gonna go back over all I said? I forgot. You don't mind if I take a sip?
Yeah, what you gonna say?
I would suggest don't talk about time. You and Paul are exhausted.
Is this on now?
Yes.
Is that on? Dominic reminded me of an incident when Bob Matlin and I were in a team on the upper level of an old barn. There was a medical detachment at the lower level of the barn. They used to be moving all the time. But we were sleeping on the floor. Bob was up against the wall in the corner, and I was lying next to him. And we had eaten some sea rations earlier, and the cans were still out in the middle of the room, the barn. And no one ever finished sea rations. And I was lying there, asleep, I felt something crawling over my, and I waited a while. Then I looked over, we had candles going. I saw rats were coming. They were crawling over me, down my side with Bob Matlin crawling over Bob Matlin. So I woke him up. I said, "Bob, you know what those are? I said, what? I said, those are rats. He said, as far as I'm concerned, they're rabbits. He went back to sleep. I'm glad you brought this situation up. The lower level had a temporary medical situation there, and they had some wounded, our people, and there was a wounded German officer. He had a major wound on the side of his face, and he was speaking English quite well, and we're talking to him, and he said, and the other lieutenant, I think was down there, came up to get us down. We're talking to him, he graduated from Harvard.
The German, wow.
And he was a German officer. He said, we are going to lose this war, but your next war will be with Russia. That was pretty good way of thinking, I think, on his part. But anyhow, we left that, and where did I go from there? Oh, yes. That's when the guy said, oh, he came up. That's what woke me up. He said, Visconsi here? I said, yes. He said, Captain Minsley wants you down the road up with grade registration. I said, what the hell was that? He said, no. I said, what happened to Lacchiata? I remember him. He had it. He was killed today. So you go on down and see Captain Minsley wants to see you. So I walk down, maybe half a mile. I walk in. It's like you see in the movies. Wooden boxes with candles on it. He's sitting there. He said, you're gonna do this now, Lacchiata was killed today, and we need these are tags. The tag maybe about 12 inches by 3.5 to KIA, killed in action. You put down the name, go through the first dog tags, put the dog tag number on it. And if you can't find the dog tags, because sometimes dog tags were gone by virtue of the injuries, go through the pockets and look at the name. So most of the time I found dog tags, but when I went out there, I recognized two fellows there that I knew, and they were friends, but I recognized them. And they were at least 25, not laid out, but laid on top of each other, about three bodies high, so to speak. I went back in and I said, Captain, I can't handle this. That's not for me. I can take care of a guy with a wounded or he said, come on, I'll help you. In a couple of days, you'll be dancing with these guys. Well, believe it or not, I got used to it. I never danced with them. But it was a terrible thing to get used to, but it was, yeah, and we would put body bags. But sometimes you didn't say you'd get a letter, but I never did the letters after one I picked out, and I saw a picture of a lady and two children. I said, that's it. So they were unidentified as far as I was concerned. They didn't have the dog tags. And many of the fellows, unfortunately, you pick up, they had pockets full of money or 3 or 4 watches on them. They had taken off some of their buddies, so to speak, who had been killed. There are a lot of unusual situations with that, but what else did I tell you?
How about when you were getting ready to cross the river, the Po River?
Oh, yes, final days in April. And we were getting ready to cross the Po River. It was getting the end of the session in April. April the 12th, the engineers had built a temporary bridge for troops. They were turning on another one to take tanks and trucks across the Po River. That was being our final major assault on the Germans. And it was on a Thursday, April the 12th, was the day we were supposed to go across the river, and we were crossing over there was a big, with a land unit that had wheels, and
they were called ducks.
Yeah, the ducks, right, you get about 30, 40 men per duck. They could live on land, and we could also do about 10 miles an hour in the water. So this is April the 12th, in fact, that's the day Roosevelt died. And Friday, we couldn't get our support, it was cloudy. Next day, a beautiful, beautiful sunny day. And we're all thinking, what the hell's going on? April the 13th.
Friday the 13th, right?
Friday the 13th. April, Friday the 13th. So the next day, hell broke loose. And that was the day Captain Dole got hit. This our ex-late senator. He was in the 10th Mountain Division. And that on Sunday was when Marshall beat all one of the twin brothers came over and said, Bob Matlin got hit. This young man's dad. I said, how bad is they didn't know, but with a lot of blood on his face. So we checked him out 2 days later. He'd been shot through the cheek, his ear and his cheek. And then we continued on and we got up to Lake Garda. And at Lake Garda, the war ended. The day the war ended, we were in Lago di Garda, northern Italy, a very beautiful place. And that was the day the trucks, every so often trucks would come in and drop off the wounded who had been healed and put them back in the battle. So we got to Lake Garda, and 6 of us took over the home of a Contessa. It was right on the lake, and we moved her in with the help. And we were there for 4 days, which was terrific. Bob was there. And I remember that some of the fellows liked to fish. They took boats out and they threw hand grenades in the water. And the fish would float to the surface. That was Lake Garda.
How about when you fell off the dock crossing the river? Do you want to talk about that?
What?
When you fell in the water off of the dock with your pack, when you were crossing the river.
Yeah, that was a good event. As we got across the river, I was on the front of the duck, and I bounced up and I fell off the duck into the water with my pack. And I went, oh, this is it. But it wasn't. And here to talk about it. There were many incidents that were close calls, but it was pretty terrible seeing what happened with so many of these young men and the manner in which they suffered and long-lasting, lifelong injuries and losing legs and limbs. And to see that, it's pretty tough, but you actually, sounds terrible to say, you can get used to it.
Had to.
And have another drink. We used to get passes in combat zones. It was 3 days, you could go back to a town and we're still active, alive a couple times. Go back and we would maybe have 3 or 4 drinks in the first hour. But also, I was not a smoker then, and they would give out 3 packs of cigarettes a day to everyone. And I had pockets full of packs of cigarettes. I go into a town, and cigarettes were a fantastic commodity at the time. And I could get wonderful dinners and drinks for a pack of cigarettes. So that was a great
Trade-off.
For money.
a great reason to not smoke.
How about when you and some other medics went into the minefield?
Oh, that was an interesting and dramatic situation. We were going to another position on trucks going up a dirt road going toward the mountains, and the German artillery started blasting. Can you hear me?
That's better, yes.
German artillery, we started getting hit by German artillery, and some of the trucks got hit. And some fell off into this minefield, and it was an area, because we were advancing rather rapidly at the time, had all these signs that Achtung Minen, which meant active mines in German. And we fell into this minefield, and the guy said, "Don't go in there because there are mines all over the place." Well, automatically, a few other fellows and I went in, and we were pulling. So our only one guy stepped on the mine. All the others obviously made it and got to pull these fellows out. So that was an interesting situation also that you reminded me of. Anything else I forgot? When you're 99 plus, forget a lot of things.
No, your memory's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. People are more surprised and impressed with the memories, not the loss of any.
What's your name? Okay.
The kids
Does-
that turn up, does that go up?
Does anyone have any questions offhand that from any of the stories so far that that you might want clarification on, or anything so far that we've maybe missed? Yes, sir.
I was just wondering if speaking or understanding Italian was of help during his experience.
Oh, that's a good one.
There you go.
Excuse me. When we got over there, we were so happy that we were not handling the mules anymore, and the Italian Alpini troops were handling the mules. And the one guy, they said, this is a different tack, said, one of our guys said, "There's a farmer over here who would like to buy some of his chickens." Well, I grew up in a Sicilian family, and I spoke to the Italian farmer in Sicilian, both of them. I can remember saying, "Io voglio cantare due adina." And they looked at me, and they looked at each other, and they knew what the hell I was talking about. And the Italian troops, they were laughing. They taught me, no, the way you say, "Io voglio prendere due gallina." Pretty different. So then we did get the chickens. And they were fun guys, but they also took care of the mules, and that was terrific. And the memories, there are so many that when we leave here tonight, I'll remember them on the way home.
Welcome to the club.
And,
Did you have family there?
what?
Did you have,
Did you have
I
family?
had relatives there. My dad and mother were born in Sicily, a little town outside of Palermo called Bulgaria,
Margarita,
Ghria,
right.
which happened to be shown in the Godfather 1 when they went back to kill the man who killed his mother.
Yeah, Margarita.
Train station of Bulgaria.
Yeah, it was in the third one.
But that was
They
there.
revisited, yeah, that was in the third one when they went to Bulgaria.
Oh, I thought it was the first one. That's my memory.
I think it was both, yeah.
oh, maybe
It was
both,
both.
maybe both. Maybe
But
both.
that's funny you should say that, because my parents are from Sicily too.
My dad took the whole family there. I had my 4th birthday in Bulgaria
There you go.
with my one brother and 3 sisters. We were there from October of 28 till April of 1929, staying with relatives, obviously, the hotel. We came back in April and moved into an apartment building, a retail and apartment building my dad built in Rocky River. Had 5 apartments, and he put 2 together, so when we came home, we had 4 bedrooms, and 2 bathrooms, which was fantastic.
And unheard of.
Yeah. And the Depression was at that time, also in 1929. But I went to school right across the street from that building, Kensington School, where my great-grandson, Tony's son, will be going. They live right there. He'll be going to Kensington School in Kensington kindergarten. But then we built a house farther out on the Rocky River. Where do I go from there?
After the war ended.
The war ended.
Well, after it ended in Europe, what did you end up doing?
Well, after in Europe, oh yes, we were in Legarda, and then Yugoslavia began acting up for some reason. And the United States thought there might be a problem, so they reactivated our division, moved us to a little town called Tarcento, which is close to the Yugoslavian border. And there were 2 brothers in our outfit, who were real action lovers, and they would go at night sometimes, and they would go behind the German lines. They'd come back with Luger pistols, and they'd come back with helmet, and they were collectors of German. Of course, they couldn't take the helmets with them. But they had all sorts of things, and they were action lovers. We got to Tarcento, there was a lake there with a large dam. The top of the dam was probably as wide as this table. And it fell down at least 100 feet down to the lower level. And the water was just dripping from the lake over this dam. And we were there, we were going swimming, and the captain with us, that Captain Mitchell, who was our guy he said, don't get on that dam because it's slippery from the water. Because you're liable to fall and you fall 100 feet down there. I said, no way. And there's 2 action lovers who couldn't believe how happy their parents were. They survived the war. We were there swimming one day, and one of them gets up. He said, don't get on the dam. He said, oh. He got on the dam, he slipped off, down he went. We had to come to get ropes down and pull him up, his body was gone. His brothers are going through all of his diamonds, the pistols they had, and 38s of them, Lugers, and one of them went off and he killed himself. And then 2 sons survived it and didn't make it. That was a terrible thing. And then that was in that time when Yugoslavia backed down a little, and we disarmed, and we finally got on a train, went to Naples. The train took about 4 days to get to Naples. It was going 15, 20 miles an hour, and then it stopped. We got up, got on the roof, and lie in the sun. And then we came back on troop ships, which took about 2 weeks. Going over only 5 days in that wonderful ship. So we got back and we were coming down the Hudson River, and there was another ship with a band and singers and orchestras, and they're all playing, and everyone on our ship is on the side watching them. We went to Hudson, and our ship is leasing this thing over. They get on the rug and get the hell on the other side of the ship. Capsized. So, anyhow, it didn't, obviously, we got to the staging area and we off, and the following day on the trains and wherever we went, but we took a train back to Cleveland. And we got to the Terminal Tower here in Cleveland, the lower level. Those days, trains were all constantly all over the place. We were getting off the train and going up, and we look up and see all these familiar faces and not familiar, but waiting and screaming, waiting for us to come home.
Oh,
And there we were.
wow.
So we made it.
All for it.
And there were wonderful memories and terrible parts of it, horrible parts too. And they could feel, and I used to feel, for some we went to visit a couple of my friends that were in the hospital. One had lost his arm. He said, I just soon be dead. And I said, no, you're gonna make it. And he was Robert Kelly, I remember him. And I think compared to wounds in the Civil War, it was nothing. But it depends about the individual. It's you, it's bad.
Were you training to go to Japan, though? Were you back in Colorado?
You raise your hand.
Did you make any,
You want to go to the bathroom?
did you make any lifelong friends that you stayed in touch with following the war?
In Italy?
Anywhere during your wartime experience?
Well, the fellows I went with, Bob Allen, who was this young man's dad,
Right.
and the twin brothers, we were lifelong friends after that. Twin brothers died separately, about 6 or 8 months apart. And Bob, unfortunately, passed about, you say 3 months ago?
Last September.
September, time goes crazy. And he had, but I used to speak to him at least 5 times a week. He would call usually between 10 and 11 at night. And it's interesting, and we would talk, and he'd talk about politics and the government and the finances, talk about the stock market. And he was in the hospital and he couldn't get on the phone. He got to be in pretty unfortunately, with very bad shape. I'd say the last 2 or 3 weeks were pretty tough. And it was funny, for at least a few of a month, I would be waiting for that phone call at night. It's over, but I am talking about what a wonderful man he was. And a wonderful family too. Which I was saying, in spite of you.
Was he one of the only men that you knew or were in the division specifically that that received a Purple Heart? And you didn't mention that.
Yes. On April, when Bob Matlin was wounded, he got hit. He got the Silver Star. And I remember we were talking about it, and he told me how he knew he was going to get hit when he went to pull the man up. He said like a shock to his head, and he fell down. He was taken to a hospital. And when we got to Lake Garda, when the war ended, he was getting off a truck where the wounded were brought back who could still function. He jumped off the truck. He said, "What the hell's going on?" Everybody was firing rifles. He said, "The war's over." Another interesting part of that was about 2 days later, 2 or 3 German Mercedes-Benz limousine convertibles came up with German officers and generals and all that, meeting with our officers. They all got together, shaking hands, war's over. And they were in those limousines that you used to see, I'm sure, many times, with Adolf Hitler standing with his hand up, and they had that open limousine, all the Mercedes. They came up to generals, they were all shaking hands at them. Isn't that great? Telling each other a week ago.
You can go.
So that made an impression. I brought that up. But that was, it was great to be home.
Another question?
Did you continue back into medical school you attended, or
Well,
did you
I
take a path after the war?
didn't, I went back, but I wasn't very interested. My dad had started a shopping center in Brook Park and Pearl. First of all, I did nothing for about 4 or 5 months. And I was going back, and my dad, he was starting construction there, and I went out there and talking to him, and I went to an architectural class at downtown Spencerian College. And I was going to architectural classes, and then I was going out to job every day and watching him. And then you sit in the leasing meeting, I'm just a kid. But I'm listening, and I see what he'd done and what was happening. And pretty soon I was getting involved in the construction part and listening to the leasing. In those days, the lease, I can remember sitting on a leasing meeting. One was Central National Bank. And it was, the lease was 3 pages. My dad said, no, 2 pages or forget the deal. Today, a typical lease is 60 to 70 pages.
Wow.
I also remember going with my dad to Cleveland Trust Bank. And George Gunn, who was the president of the Cleveland Trust Bank, his office, and talking about the loan on this center and that. In fact, that was before the war. He was still building, he was doing 2 stores and 2 suites, a lot of those buildings, in smaller centers with maybe 6 or 7 stores. And I'm going back to 1936 at Ridge and Snow Road in Parma. He had a building with about 8 or 9 stores, had a Kroger and an A&P in it. And that was in a Greeny Food Market, which became Greeny Supermarket later on. I remember that in 1936, for some reason, that year stands out. And I used to go with him to his different things he was building. That got me interested in that too, but my mother wanted me to be a doctor. I can't think of too many other things, and I went to Parma Chef High School, and sometimes I come home at 10 o'clock at night and being out with some friends, and in 1941, well, 1938, my dad went to Florida, my mother for 3 months, and I went with him and my sister. And then in 1941, went to Florida and stopped on the west coast, a little town called Venice, Florida. And there was a large building across from the restaurant, across a big parade field, said Winter Home Kentucky Military Institute. And my dad said his attorney had 2 sons there. How would I like to go to that school? And I said, I don't know. So he said, well, after lunch, let's go over there. So we went over there, and I remember meeting this fellow named Major Hodges in his uniform. He's giving us particulars of what to do, and goes, and my dad and mom. My mother wasn't crying that I was going to stay there. Dad said, why don't you try it? If you don't like it in 2 or 3 weeks, we'll come back and pick you up. Because they were going on to Miami. Okay. But there are 2 students in every room, so they put me in with a young man who I liked immediately. We bonded. And his father owned a cattle ranch in Florida. So every other weekend we'd go down to the cattle ranch. That was terrific. And then the junior and senior years, they rented a car from a guy at a gas station. It was a 41 or 42 Ford Coupe, and we drive down the Tamiami Trail, go through Naples, which had a gas station and a couple of homes, and into Miami. and we sleep on a bench in Biscayne and eat sandwiches and go to a nightclub called, remember the club called, this one stands out, called the Clover Club on Biscayne Boulevard. We went in there and the drinks were 25 cents. And there was a beautiful lady singing. Her name was Lena Horne. Well, many years subsequent to that, I'm in Las Vegas with a friend of mine, Ray Park, his wife, and another friend. We're in a front, and Lena Horne was performing. They had some event with Vic Damone and Lena Horne were going across the country. So Ray Park, Vic Damone, and I are sitting in Lena Horne, who sits with us, and she still looked great. And I said, I remember you when you were about 18 years old. I said, what are you talking about? But how about the Clover Club, Miami, Florida, on Biscayne Boulevard? I said, holy Christ. Now you know how old I am. Incidents there, I think back, they're pretty interesting.
Do you want to take one last question if anyone has any? Do you want to take one other question if anyone has any?
Sure.
Any other?
One last question.
Questions?
Oh, okay, maybe two, maybe.
Or two.
Was the specialized training of the 10th Mountain Division sort of wasted, like not applied in the role you were put into?
Specialized with the skiing part of it, but fortunately, that wasn't carried over, but the mountain climbing was specialized. There were a lot of ropes, a lot of pounding pitons, or little metal, they were about 6 inches and wide. You go to a point, you pound it into the rock fissures. As long as the paint kept going up, you knew it was good. If it was dull, you knew it wasn't going to work. You had three guys to a rope, and one would move, the other three were holding the ropes. So one would slip, the other two held them up. And occasionally somebody slipped, the other two couldn't hold them up. And there were a couple of accidents, there were no deaths, so. But fortunately, we never got involved in that. And our division did this, another part of it did on Mount Belvedere, on section 1 up the side. That was where we, no rides, no strictly hand grenades. Some of it I don't remember, it was just all exciting.
Right behind, this, it's the lady behind you, sorry.
Long shot, but I was wondering if you knew my friend Chris Spiegler.
Chris Spiegler. Chris Spiegler, she wanted to know if you knew Chris Spiegler from the 10th Mountain Division. That rings a bell.
I didn't know, is he Cleveland man?
No, but I just thought there was a chance maybe.
Sure.
And then my other question is, he was one of the men that fell in love with skiing as a result, went to Colorado, got involved in the ski industry. Did you continue skiing?
Yes, I did. I continued skiing and my children got into it. And then we bought a house in Elegantville. And
New York, yes.
had that for years. And they're all skiers, my daughter and both my sons. Although Nicole quit a few years ago.
I retired,
Granddaughter too.
but they're trying to get me back.
There's a great skier right there, and right there.
These two.
My grandson Tony, my dear granddaughter, the hockey star, bad hockey. She is now kicking the ball.
Soccer.
She's kicking that ball. She's had 2 championships this year on her soccer team. That's terrific. That's Olivia.
So, that sounds like we're all set?
Oh, hey, one more?
One more?
One more?
Did you ever retrace any of your steps in subsequent years?
In
Did you
Italy?
go back to Italy, to any of the places?
Camp Hale or?
Yes, I did. Bob Matt and I went back. 4 or 5 years subsequent to that, after the war, and went back to Mount Belvedere, walked up all the way, and foxholes were still there, and they were washed out a lot, but they were still there. And at that time, it was 4 or 5 years after the war, on the roads, the German concrete emplacements were still there, where they used to have their artillery. And a lot of it was still there, it hadn't been removed. It was very interesting, and there was a little, before we went into combat in Mount Belvedere, everyone was hiding in different places. There was a little old burned out barn where we were staying in. There was a little restaurant next to it. As long as they weren't blown away, little restaurants and bars stayed open. And we went in that little restaurant, I remember, and we would get food. We gave it to some of the civilians who were there in terrible shape. And after the war, Bob Matt and I went to that little town. I can't recall the name of it right now. And the barn was now rebuilt, it was operating. Went to that little restaurant. I began to speak to them, and I could speak now Italian after having been there. And I told him, he said, "Oh, you were in that building next door. I remember your team, your men. You helped some of the people by giving them food in the neighborhood." He called his daughter, and his wife was working there. Daughter comes down the steps. He tells her to get something. He brings out a bottle, like a dusty bottle, and he uncorks it. He drink it, and he gives a little glasses. So we took a drink, and he got drunk. But that was interesting.
Yeah, that was a good question.
Little funny things. Another time, we had left Mount Belvedere, we were driving, had a little restaurant out on the road, a couple of tables out by the road, and anyhow, we went in there and we ate out exterior on the outside, and I got the check and I paid the check. I got in the car and I'm driving away, and all of a sudden Bob said, "She's screaming about something." I said, "What?" And back and she said, "Troppo. You paid me too much." I didn't keep it. And the food was wonderful.
Good people, too. Jeff had one?
have one more?
I just remember one story from Mount Belvedere that my father would tell me, that he said that he dug his foxhole down as far as he could and then in like an L shape in order to protect himself better.
Oh.
Right, well, he had a group with him there, and they put, got some small logs over the top. That was the cover over the top, but so shrapnel wouldn't go through that. And most of foxholes are open. If you thought you were gonna be there for a few days, you took the time to cover yourself.
I also remember after you visited, you told my father that a lot of kids in the area looked like him.
We can stop the recording now.
I think we'll wrap up with that.
Okay, sure. Yes. I think
And he said, "I know it."
I think we're gonna end on that note, folks.